Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Brever, and alongside me is the little guy in my computer, aka Logan Camden. And today we are going to be ranking the top 10 quarterbacks we would build around in the NFL. For all of you NBA freaks though, all you NBA fiends who are like, give me more basketball, please. We just did an NBA show 2 days ago. And also, I have this video that I've been talking about Shea coming out tomorrow morning. I wanted that to be done by today, but it just didn't work out that way, Logan. So if you've had enough of the Shea Glaze, maybe sit this one out. This is sort of the manifesto of the Shea Glaze, if you will, putting it all together in one spot, and then maybe I'll have it out of my system for a little bit, maybe not. But that video is going to come out first thing tomorrow morning. Also, Logan, La Streak is over. Are we going to have a day of national mourning? Are we going to do 45 minutes on this? MJ would never, although MJ
it's for the greater good.
As long.
It's for the greater good. You know, he passed up a good shot to get it. Just selfless play from LeBron. MJ would never. He would have put that shot up. I just think it speaks to LeBron's selflessness. So LeBron's the GOAT.
Can I say something, Logan?
Yeah.
Very Christ-like of LeBron to pass to Rui there.
That's
all I'm going to say. 4 of 17 were erasing the one. He went 4 of 7, and he had more than 11 assists. He had 21 assists yesterday. People are calling it one of the greatest passing performances we've ever seen. Scott Skiles-esque in the best way possible. So there's your NBA talk for today.
Imagine scoring 10 points in over 1,200 straight games, bro.
No, it really is unfathomable.
That's crazy, bro.
But you know what else I can't imagine? Scoring 20-plus points in 94 straight games like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. That is one of many, many stats included in the video coming out tomorrow. Stats which I am not going to update after tonight, even though the Thunder play today. So if the stats are 0.1% different, and you want to make a whole big deal about it, go fuck yourself, man.
Yeah, he already shot the VO, you dick.
I already shot the VO, and there's a million different little stats that I mentioned, and I'm going to say at the top of the video that the Thunder are 21-1, which cannot possibly be true after tonight, unless we do have a national day of mourning for LeBron's streak ending, and they don't play the game, or, God forbid, Logan, something should happen to you, and we go into some sort of collective extended moment of silence from which we would really never recover, although we would be Logan Camden. We are all Logan Camden if that does happen. But yeah, everybody stay tuned for that video tomorrow if you want. But today, we're
you just created a million Logan Camdens.
Created a million Logan Camdens. A million little guys in my computer. Oh, you mean so much to the world, Logan, and I just hope you know it. Let's talk about these quarterbacks, though, because we're getting to that time of year where we've got a big sample size, and we got to revisit some of these big conversations. We may or may not be bringing back an episode that we did last year, bringing on a certain guest, and we may or may not be ranking every quarterback in the NFL. Next week, you may see just how high does 9 climb on our list. There's only one way to find out. But today, we're taking that long-term big picture perspective, Logan. So again, these are the top 10 quarterbacks we would most want to build around starting today. That is accounting, obviously, for age. That is accounting for availability. That is accounting even for contracts, I would say. Is there anything that you want to add to the criteria before we get into the list?
No, I think that I think everything's included because we had a little bit of a brief discussion when we were planning out the episode. Like, should we include this? Should we do a age maximum, kind of like how we did the top 25 players to build around for the NBA? But I kind of think it makes it more interesting when you include everything in totality: the contracts, the age, performance. I think everything makes it a little more interesting. So yeah, nothing is off the table for this list.
Yeah, I also just don't think there's like enough really good quarterbacks in the league to do an under 25 cutoff like you can in the NBA.
Too.
Thanks, dude. Wow.
No, it got slim really quick towards the end of this list, man.
With that being said, we do always start with the honorable mentions. Who was the toughest cut, or who were the toughest cuts for you from this list?
All right, I'm going to get called crazy for insane glaze. I've been glazing
Gino, please say Gino. God.
Dude.
Oh, he's on your list?
I could say Gino because I would want to enhance your Gino plushie stock, much in the way that CNN has now partnered with Kalshi, and they're just going to feed you nonsense news to,
Oh, wow, I didn't see that.
Affect the predictive markets. I think that's just awesome, that gambling
odds that Mr. Beast becomes supreme leader of the universe?
I think those should be like negative. I think that's. I think it's
You think
favored
he's
at
an
this
odds-on
point.
favorite?
I've been called crazy for my glaze of this guy before, and I admittedly have been glazing him before he got to college. I would still take Arch Manning in my top 10. I think he's going to be the shit, bruh.
Okay, I was going to say, he's not eligible for this list.
He's not eligible
that
for
would
this
be
list,
like if I
but-
took A.J. DeBonsa for our NBA list.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't put him.
Or Darren Peterson or Cam
I'm
Newton, either one of
actually.
them.
I think I took my crazy pills this morning because the first guy that I left off, Carson, keep it in your pants. Keep it in your pants. Dak Prescott is the first guy off my list. I can't even lie.
God, I just love to hear you say his name.
Contract included, age included. When I factored everything in with the guys at the tail end of this list, there just aren't really that many guys that have a proven track record where I look at them and go, yeah, that's a guy I want under center, say, for the next 5 years. And that's kind of how I'm looking this by and large. Like, obviously, for guys with larger windows, potentially, you could look at it and say, oh, I got this guy for 20 years. But you can never really pencil that in for any quarterback. So I'm just looking at kind of the immediate next 5 to 10 years. And even though Dak has been in the league for a really long time, since 2016, and even though his contract is one of the largest at the position, I know what I'm getting with him. You know, he's super, super stable. He's an elite pocket passer. Like, he was, I would just feel bad if he wasn't one of the first 5 guys that I left off, considering what he's been doing the past couple years.
Short term, like if we're just talking right now, Dak is among the 6. No, you know what? I'm just going to land on 6. He's among about the 6 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, playing at an extremely high level. But like you said, it's the fact that he's 32 years old. It's the contract to me isn't significant just because really the differences between all these guys who are making 50 million plus, it gets pretty negligible. And like Dak absolutely justifies the contract. It's just I'm not going to have as many more years of elite production out of him because of the age. And you could factor availability in to an extent too. Like we have seen 3 of the last 6 years, Dak have some sort of significant injury. I think actually out of full-time starters over that span, like guys who have been full-time starters continuously since 2020, Dak has missed the most games due to injury. I think he's missed 1 more game than Burrow, and those are the top 2. So he's fully healthy right now. He's playing amazing elite football. But like you said, he and Stafford both, I had to disqualify because of the age factor. I mean, Stafford obviously is 37, but has been playing even slightly better than Dak, I would say. I think those are the guys who, have been overall, I would say, among those top 7 quarterbacks, somewhere in that 5 through 7 range, just outside the big 4. Although there is somebody who's crashed the party this year when we talk about those top 7 or so quarterbacks in the NFL. But whatever, just stamped as elite consistently, but too old to be on this list.
Yeah, the only other 2 guys I considered were in the same draft class, and that's both Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. Darnold, I really considered heavily. I think he's had a real resurgence these past 2 years, and he's put enough on tape where, I know that one of the hardest things I think that we have to face, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I think I am speaking for the broader NFL fan when I say this, it's kind of hard to shake these stigmas that quarterbacks get on them very early in their careers. I think that's why a lot of people were kind of reluctant to buy into Geno Smith having a bounce back, even though I know he's having a terrible year in a rancid offensive situation and a horrible offensive line. But I think even with Baker or guys that when you see them stink or suck out of the gates, it's kind of hard, or they have a down year, it's kind of hard to shake that. Darnold has done that for me, where he's put enough on tape these past 2 years in 2 drastically different situations. And, because Minnesota, I know they did some stuff under center too, but I look at him and his success in shotgun with Minnesota, under center with Seattle, the difference in offensive systems. He does have 2 top-end wide receivers that I think is important to mention in both of those situations, but Darnold's got the arm talent. He's got the accuracy. I think he's gotten more poised and better under pressure and in big situations over the past 2 years, and he's just a little bit more reliable. I'm not saying that he's not capable of having a stinker. I think every quarterback is. I think that Darnold may be a little bit more reliable than the top 10 guys on this list, but I don't really use that as a reason why he's not on my list. It's just he's a little bit older, and he hasn't been doing it as long as some of the other guys on my list. And I would say the same thing about that for Baker Mayfield. He's a little bit older, and he just doesn't have that kind of ceiling of the top guys on my list, and he doesn't have the upside of some of the younger guys on my list. So I'd say that for Darnold and Mayfield both. But I did consider them in my kind of like 9 and 10 spots, they were pretty easy cuts when I got down to it, but I did consider Darnold and Mayfield.
Darnold has been playing at that top 10 level. I think he's just better than Baker. He also is a little bit younger, even though they came out the same year.
Yeah, Darnold I would have Darnold off my list before Baker.
Like, Dak, Stafford, and Darnold were the 3 guys who I considered, and it ultimately wasn't that hard for me to leave all of them off, but Stafford and Dak because they're just that elite right now, but they're too old. And then Darnold was the guy who like had that combination of being really, really good, right like in that number 10 spot if we were to rank the best quarterbacks in the NFL today. And he's 28 years old, so he's still got a long runway left in front of him. Ultimately, I just felt like there were a couple guys who are 4 or 5 years younger than him who have more upside, and ultimately I was more comfortable going with that as my long-term strategy. I didn't think that Darnold was good enough right now to justify putting him above those guys big picture. But the one point that I will say Darnold has in this favor, and we mentioned contracts as a consideration, that's not too big a deal for me just because, like, even guys who are on rookie deals right now, that's great for the next couple years, and then they're going to be getting paid top dollar like everybody else. And again, most of these guys are getting paid negligibly different money at the upper echelons of the quarterback market. Darnold is the one exception to that, though. And again, it's not a long-term deal, so it still doesn't really move the needle.
Him and Baker both,
Yeah, that's true. But Darnold, next year, he's only like 11% of the Seahawks cap hit. The year after that, he's only like 12% of the Seahawks cap hit. So that is something that makes him a little bit easier to build around short-term. Again, just not a significant enough long-term factor for me to put him on my list. So I'm interested to see where we're starting at the bottom with you, Logan. Who is in your 10 spot?
10 and 9, I kind of look at interchangeably almost. I think the guy in my 9 spot has a little more dynamism to his game, but it is close between both of these young quarterbacks. In my 10 spot, I have CJ Stroud, and CJ would have been a guy that would have been top 5, maybe, number 1 on this list coming out of his rookie year. The same thing that you could say for the guy in my number 9 spot. CJ has to be here for me because of what he showcased in some bad offensive situations. Obviously, in his best offensive situation in his rookie season, was a Pro Bowler, led the Texans to the playoffs, and they won a playoff game. Like, it was super, super impressive stuff. And I still really believe in CJ Stroud as a franchise quarterback. I still think he's got all the tools that he showcased in that rookie year. I just think the offensive infrastructure around him deteriorated last season in a big way. I think the start of this year, the offensive line play was really bad, but I think they're kind of starting to figure it out in terms of the receiving core, Jayden Higgins finding his role in this offense, and them just figuring the hierarchy out. Nico Collins missed a lot of time last year, so I think there were a lot of moving parts, and the offensive infrastructure around him wasn't great last year. It's not great around him this year. And so I think that's why some of his raw statistical numbers have suffered, right? He's not putting up the gaudy touchdown-to-interception ratios like he was his rookie year, but I don't look at him as a drastically different quarterback. I think he is in a really tough situation. I still think he's got a ton of upside. He's a great leader. He's got all the tools. He's super young. And I think as this offensive system gets better around him, CJ's going to continue to get better and better. There are just other guys around him. Because I think Stroud's a franchise guy. I think everybody on this list is a bona fide franchise quarterback. I think there are 10 of them that you could consider. Maybe you could bump that to 11 to 13. I would consider Dak a franchise guy. I would consider Darnold, Baker, Stafford. They're just older, right? So, maybe they don't get that kind of label. But I still think Stroud's a franchise guy. Everybody above him, I just think has more – they've got more tools and some of these guys have more dual threat ability, and other guys I've just seen them lead out better team offenses. So it is very close between number 9 and 10 to me, but I would feel bad leaving Stroud off this list. I know it's been a disappointing sophomore and junior campaign for CJ, considering the lofty expectations that he set for himself, but I still really believe in him as a franchise guy.
I have CJ in my number 10 spot too, and I feel like, as we talk about him, I should clarify actually another important part of my criteria for this list, which is how we evaluate quarterbacks to begin with. What is most meaningful to us in our evaluation of these guys? Because you could look at some of the bottom line statistics for CJ over these last couple years, and they're not going to say top 10 to you. And I wouldn't say that CJ is playing at a top 10 level right now. I'd say he's just a little bit about outside that, but of course he's only 24 years old, and therefore I think naturally has the long-term value of just getting more quality years out of him. Still has some potential to grow into his peak in his career. But big picture, what I look at when I evaluate these quarterbacks is how good I think they are in a vacuum. And there are so many different factors that play into a quarterback's production and stats and how they may look in a specific situation that is really favorable or a specific situation that is really difficult and subpar. So when I say traits, I'm not just talking about like physical tools. That stuff matters to me for sure, but I'm talking about processing. I'm talking about accuracy. I'm talking about all the things that we can judge to the best of our abilities that are purely about the quarterback. And maybe that sounds obvious. I'm judging the quarterback for how good the quarterback is purely. But that is often not how quarterback discourse actually goes at all. People factor in not just like, oh, this guy's got a great situation, so his numbers look a little better, so he must be better. Sometimes it's literally that guy's defense is amazing, so that guy's team wins games. Even if their offense isn't good, he isn't good, he must be good because they're winning games. Like, there's all sorts of frustrating things about quarterback discourse, so not to be a broken record, we talk about this stuff. That's how I view it, and I do think that CJ has been in one of the most difficult situations that any quarterback could be in the NFL. And the Texans' offense last year was not good. They were 24th in points per drive. This year, their offense, again, is not good. They are 24th in points per drive again. But the only thing that says about CJ to me is that he's not one of those superhero guys, right? He's not an Allen, a Mahomes, a Lamar, obviously. He's not a Herbert or a Drake Maye if we're looking at some of those younger guys, especially Maye, who have been able to immediately elevate and overcome not easy circumstances and give you elite production and lead really good offense. CJ's not of that tier. But when I look at everything he has around him, his offensive line has been horrible essentially for his entire career. His run game has been horrible essentially for his entire career. His play calling has mostly been subpar. He's really got one proven receiver. I like Dalton Schultz. You mentioned Jayden Higgins coming along, but coming into this year, it's like Nico Collins and nobody else who is established in this room. And considering all of that, I still find CJ to be generally impressive and just a generally good quarterback. Like, he's a pretty good mover. He's pretty good at evading pressure. He's got good pocket presence, right? He will hang in there, but he can escape relatively well when he needs to. He's got a pretty good arm. He's pretty accurate. He's a pretty good decision maker. Like, I just give him a B+ in a lot of different traits. And that's enough for me to say at 24 years old, considering the positions he has been put in, this is still a top 10 building block at quarterback for me.
And when we saw him in his rookie year, because I think he's gotten better since then, I mean, in his best offensive situation, he delivered. I just think if you put similar pieces like that around him, if they build this offensive lineup, I think you're going to see him flourish. And the final thing that I'll add that is my favorite quality about CJ is the fact that he's just so good at limiting turnovers. I know, I think last week he had a pretty comically bad one. It was funny. They turned it over, and then CJ, right after the next play, after Houston's defense got one, he threw a pick right back.
Yeah.
But CJ's really good at limiting turnovers, and he needs to get better at taking bad sacks. Again, that being said, he's got one of the worst offensive lines in football, I think, in front of him. So easier said than done. But I still think there's upside there, too, where I don't know if CJ's going to – I wouldn't predict CJ to take a sort of like MVP leap, maybe, you know, the way people would have thought after his rookie season. But I don't think he's done. And I still think he is propping up a generally bad offensive situation.
Totally. And you mentioned his rookie year, and he had simultaneously the most passing yards per game that year and the lowest interception percentage. To have both of those markers as a rookie, that's crazy impressive. I do think if you look back, he got a little bit lucky with keeping the turnover numbers that low as a rookie, and some of that stuff has come back to average out. So, like, he is good in terms of protecting the football, but maybe not elite like the numbers would have said as a rookie, just the raw interception numbers. But the explosiveness that offense had when their offensive line was still bad, when their run game was still terrible, because they put just like one other awesome, explosive, big play receiver on the field. Tank Dell was so good when he was healthy that season. That receiving core has not been the same since his rookie year. So when you just gave CJ like one really good aspect of the offense around him, which was the receiver play, even as the line and the run game were bad, he still made you a pretty good offense. His numbers looked really good. And I just don't think that he has in any way regressed since then. Like, there was nothing gimmicky about CJ's rookie season. He is very much the kind of quarterback who is complete, who is mature for his age, who is versatile in his ability to beat you as a pure pocket passer, but then also, again, create relatively well outside of it. I just like him. And compared to Darnold, who is really good, but Stroud being 4 years younger, I'd rather have him. Again, Stafford and Dak clearly significantly better right now, but just much too old. CJ ended up being kind of the obvious 10th inclusion for me. And did you say that he and number 9 were pretty close for you? Because they were for me, and I'm wondering who you have in that spot.
I have Jayden Daniels here in my number 9 spot.
Okay. I have Jayden a little bit higher.
Okay. Yeah, Jayden, I had a really hard time ranking on this list because if you had asked me coming into this year, I would have told you that Jayden was maybe top 5. The only thing that's really changed for me about Jayden is my concerns about his durability, and that was one of my things about him coming in to the NFL, and through his rookie year, I was surprised. I was like, wow, this... And Jayden's a big dude. Like, he's 6'3", 6'4". He's just lanky, and it's specifically his durability in relation to how he plays the game. Now, I don't think Jayden is as nearly reckless with his body as someone like a Jackson Dart. I don't want to characterize it as he plays that kind of bully ball. It's just the sheer fact that Jayden rushes so often that the probability of him just taking hits over and over again add up, and they accumulate. And Jayden is also a guy who is a fierce competitor, and I think you've seen this twice this year. He has not been 100%, and yet Jayden has told the staff, I want to go, I want to play. I'm not saying that's a fault. Football guys are competitors. It's just that I think he is a little bit injury-prone to the point where I am going to dock him a few spots on my list because I am concerned about that, again, with his play style and his frame. That being said, when we look back to Jayden's rookie season, it, in my opinion, is still the best rookie quarterback season ever. 8 rookie quarterbacks ever made the conference title game in the Super Bowl era. I mentioned this during his rookie season, but it was the best offense ever led out by a rookie quarterback in the regular season. They averaged 28.5 points per game, 30 in the playoffs, and they were top 10 in third down, fourth down, and red zone percentage. And he was the most responsible that he as a rookie quarterback has ever been for his team's success. And even in totality, this year included, Jayden is still a legitimate offensive engine. He is number 21 in total yards per game by a quarterback. Like, I think he has the potential to be one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in football. That being said, the injury concerns are a pretty big deal to me, probably the biggest knock on him. Beyond that, I think that Jayden probably has the most limited arm of any quarterback on this list, which I am going to hold slightly against him. I just don't think he's got some of the wow and some of the pop and some of the deep ball chops that these other guys do. I think he's really accurate and short in intermediate throws. He's really good and accurate on the run. I don't think he's got the kind of big and deep ball accuracy that some of these other guys do. And then, not that this is as big of a concern, but some of the stats coming back to earth for him and his, like, I am just worried about him being as dominant as he was his rookie year. And I don't know how much to chalk up to this of Terry McLaurin not being available when Jayden was available, because that was a big deal to me. Like, there's just Terry, I still think, was really important to the Commanders' offense last season. Jayden is hitting his injury struggles this season. I don't know how much to factor in. Basically, what I'm saying is that I think that the down year is a byproduct of a lot of different variables. His injuries, teams getting tape on him, Terry missing time. I think some of the numbers being this bad for this year are a little bit phony, and I think it should bounce back in a big way. But above all else, I think Jayden's a little bit limited in terms of an arm talent when compared to some of these other guys, and I am concerned about the injuries. That's why he has fallen probably more than, and it's not a big fall. He's maybe fallen 4 to 5 spots on this list for me, but that's the reason that he's dropped from the beginning of this season.
It's possible that last year was an all-time high for Jayden in terms of his stock, right? Not that that's the best he'll ever be, but that the fact that he was that good as a rookie led people to be big picture the highest on him they will ever be. That's possible. I also think it is likely maybe that right now could be the lowest that Jayden stock ever is. Like, he has fallen just a little bit for me, but it's pretty much all because of the injuries. Like, I expected there to be something of a sophomore slump from Jayden. Like, my take at this point is if you have a great rookie season, the expectation should not be that you then improve upon that in year two. It's like, all right, can we sustain that? Can we pretty much sustain that production? Because defenses are going to make adjustments. They get more familiar with you and your offense. And we even saw this happen to Jayden in the second half of last year when the yards weren't coming as easily anymore necessarily. And there was a little bit more risk, a little bit more of the turnovers and sacks, and yet he was still able to produce a lot of offense, really good offense overall, and that's why I left so impressed by Jayden's rookie year. He's 24.9 years old. We're going to get down to the decimals on this episode for me. And the injuries are the concern. Like you said, especially when you are a very slight, very scramble-heavy quarterback who has consistently taken a lot of big hits. This was a concern with him even as a prospect. And to have not one, but two significant injuries in year two, that is all super concerning. And he also wasn't the same this year when he was healthy. I am still going to value what he did last year pretty highly, though, because it was pretty incredible. And there's a lot of reason for me to think what he does as just one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the game is going to lead to him elevating a whole lot of offenses. The way in which he stresses a defense as a runner, as a scrambler, is second only to Lamar Jackson in the NFL.
It's that stuff that we talk about, turning those negative plays into slightly positive plays that make all the difference with guys like that.
Absolutely. His elusiveness and pure speed in space is second among all quarterbacks, only to Lamar. If it is out of structure scrambles, if it is designed runs. I mean, last year, this guy gave you 900 yards on the ground. He had the highest rushing success rate of any player in football, 63%. Like, what that does to bolster an offense is so significant. How much he impacts the run game. He is the biggest reason that Washington's run game was so elite last year, and the biggest reason that they were a top 5 offense. And I like their play calling. I like what they built in with the screen game. I did like their conventional run game, but like, Jayden really was a true offensive engine as a rookie. That is a rare thing, and his skill set gives him the potential to be the rare sort of offensive engine. And then his playoff performance, I did still think was so impressive. Like, rookie Jayden Daniels, man, if we add regular season and playoff totals, gave you over 5,400 yards of total offense, 37 touchdowns against just 10 turnovers, 7.4 yards per pass. That's really good efficiency. 5.6 yards per rush. That's elite efficiency. Like, that is just such a special, impactful skill set. So I'm going to continue to bet on that dual threat power that he showed. And I will acknowledge that this year, it wasn't just injuries. His pocket presence, I thought, was a bit shaky. His accuracy was not the same. He was 25th in completion percentage over expected. So that is something to monitor. But at his best, the way in which he enhances his team's offense with the rushing threat, how accurate he is in the short passing game, or was last year at least, the explosiveness in the deep passing game. I mean, he was third in deep passing EPA last year and just repeatedly was able to take the top off the defense, right, connecting over the top with Terry McLaurin. He can escape, obviously, as well as anybody. He can create at a really high level. He does protect the ball pretty well. I just like the skill set too much. So there's another quarterback in his same class who I assume you have higher than him. I don't know. I don't want to assume, Logan. When I do that, I make an ass out of you and me. And I just like the talent more with Jayden at this point. And I just think that he's shown me a lot more, that even though the injuries are there, I also think he set expectations so high this year that it was almost inevitable that this year was going to be underwhelming. It's been like a really rough campaign because of all these things coming together, but I'm going to hold on to most of my Jayden stock.
If Jayden can stay healthy, I mean, he definitely should be a few spots higher. I mean, and I really do think the injuries affected him in a bunch of ways. You're talking about the pocket presence. I think it made him more jittery in the pocket. I think that the biggest thing to me is I don't know if Washington called their games deliberately like this because of the injuries, or Jayden subconsciously was making this decision, but he ran less too, and he ran less effectively than last year on like a per game basis. Like, that is Jayden's superpower, is the fact that they can deploy him consistently on the ground with this rushing attack where you're picking your poison if you're going after the running back, and this offensive line can impose their will, and that's the strength of this Washington team. And when they can't do that reliably, they're just missing really what makes him and this offense special. And just like that ability, again, to consistently, I'm talking about Lamar and Jayden's ability to turn negative plays into slight positives. That's how you consistently get into these short yardage situations, and why Jayden is so good on third down and fourth down. They get into these 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, and they're so good at converting it. I'm still high on him, but I am sold on Caleb's tools. I actually don't have him one spot higher. I've got him 2 spots higher, so I take it Caleb is next on your list here in this 9 spot.
Yeah, so we actually flip on these two.
Okay.
I have Jayden at 7 and Caleb at 9. To me, Jayden's ceiling and his success in this league, if we take health out of it, because that's kind of an unknown variable, is going to come down to his success as a pocket passer and what level he gets to there as a pure pocket passer, because the dual threat stuff is always going to be exceptional, but this is where I think he's continued to be tested more and more, and it's going to come down to that pocket poise, and it's going to come down to that accuracy from within the pocket. And there's improvements to be made there. I do feel good about the accuracy we saw from him as a rookie. Again, that wasn't the same this year, but that's going to be the determining factor for Jayden. And ultimately, I'm not high enough on him there to have him in my top 5. And the arm talent, like you said, isn't special. The arm talent for a Caleb Williams absolutely is special when you talk about arm strength. But the thing with him right now, the big thing, is the accuracy. This is a guy who is dead last in completion percentage over expected right now, Logan. He is in a bottom 5 with, take a deep breath here, because this is not a pretty bottom 5 to be a part of, T-Law, Dylan Gabriel, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix. Like, that just flat out has to improve, no doubt. And his pocket presence could stand to improve, and that time to throw could stand to come down a bit. It's still the highest in the NFL. I would like to see him process a bit quicker. Like, when we compare him to Jayden and Drake Maye, Caleb clearly has been the least effective of the 3 up to this point, and clearly has the most areas that are like majorly in need of work and progress. But with all these issues he does have, he's still solid as is. Like, Caleb has been a solid starting quarterback this year with so much room to grow. That's why he's on my list. It's just upside, man. He's still oozing with upside, because even with all the refinements that he does need to make, he's already gotten so much better when it comes to limiting sacks this year. I mean, you can't really overstate that. Last year, that was one of the biggest criticisms of Caleb. It was a product of him holding on to the ball for too long, bailing on pockets, just trying to play too much hero ball. He took a ridiculous number of sacks. He has more than halved that sack rate this year. Like, he now has a legitimately good low sack rate. The offensive line improvement absolutely helps there, but also he's just shown some of that like superhero sack evasion that does evoke Mahomes, Josh Allen, when it comes to just that ability to somehow escape these totally muddied pockets with a bunch of pressure. That's really valuable to me. I do put a premium on that sack evasion, the creation that comes with it. And the other thing with Caleb is, we can criticize his processing and holding on to the ball for too long, but the one thing that I do really like about him when it comes to decision-making is that he really doesn't put the ball in harm's way much. I mean, he really protects the ball quite well. Only 6 turnovers this year. Even last year, that touchdown to interception ratio was really good. That is not the be-all, end-all of quarterback play, obviously, but for a guy with whom, like, you do think about his erratic nature, the fact that part of that is not like turnover fluctuation, right? The fact that he's never really taking you out of a game with 2-3 bad picks, like he's never doing that, that is a nice foundation for him to have on top of these crazy physical traits that he does. The arm strength is out of this world. Like, he just throws absolute rockets on the run, the various arm angles, the various throws off platform that he can make. Like, that is truly top tier talent. And so the creation potential that he has, when you pair that with his mobility, is just absolutely massive. And he's improving on the margins. So at this point with Caleb, like really the thing holding me back from putting him higher is the accuracy. But I do think that can get better. We don't know if it will. It's an area that desperately needs to improve, but it's not like it's unprecedented for quarterbacks to come in with huge arms and then get more accurate. I mean, if you look at actually a number of the top passers with the biggest arms in the NFL today, I hesitate to even mention Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, because they were just such freak outliers in terms of their development, right? They had crazy arms, but they also had crazy wonky mechanics.
I mean, I would say all three of them have like just majorly refined all of their mechanics and footwork and like figured it out.
And it's like a meme, obviously, to ever make a Josh Allen comparison for a young prospect who's struggling in terms of accuracy or anything, because like you just shouldn't do it, right? It's a totally crazy development story. But what I would say is you don't have to go to those extremes. Like you can look at a Sam Darnold, a Jared Goff, a Matt Stafford. These are all guys who big arms, but were completing like 50-something% of their passes in year 1 or year 2. They had significant accuracy issues, and they got a lot better there. So he's got a great coach, which we really shouldn't be factoring in here. We should be judging these guys independently, but I think that matters for his individual development trajectory. And so I'm going to keep him here because everybody above him has just shown us significantly more in terms of production, in terms of the value they have brought to the table. But I prefer Caleb's upside to everyone below him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in on Caleb's upside. I won't, you can't say for certain on any of these things, but yeah, I do think the accuracy is going to figure itself out. I think it's more to do with his footwork and mechanics and stuff like that, and you just see all of it on display. Last year, you saw all of the sack evasion tools and the arm talent. You've seen it come together, and he's made some big plays out of structure, out of the pocket this season. One of my favorite traits of his is the cannon of an arm. It's one of the best arms I think I've ever seen, but my favorite quality is the sack evasion. Like, he is so good at getting outside the pocket. I do think that the Bears' offensive line deserves an immense amount of credit for that. I think that they just did a phenomenal job of upgrading this season. I think they have one of the best lines in football. The only weak spot, I would say, is that left tackle spot. Like, I think Dahlman, Jackson, Tooney, and Darnell Wright, I think, are all some of the best at their position in football, especially as pass blockers. And we've also seen that manifest itself in the run game where Monangai and DeAndre Swift are eating on the ground too. Yep. But, yeah, specific to Caleb, he's more sturdy and durable than Jayden. He has got – there's so much more arm talent there. And, like, I don't know about you, Carson. Yes, he is – concerningly inaccurate. He is actually dead last, 33 of 33 qualified quarterbacks in on-target percentage. I think 32nd is Dak Prescott of all people. So
what?
Yeah, I know. I thought that was really strange, but
that's really weird.
Caleb is dead last in that stat. And that being said, like, I see all the tools, and I just think he's going to figure it out, man. Like, I felt like I was fooled by Trevor Lawrence a little bit in some of the regard. I think Caleb, and I'm just saying that in relation because they were both top drafted players. I feel like Caleb is put more on tape, but the kicker to me is the fact that he does have Ben Johnson in his corner. And I think him and Ben Johnson are going to be one of the best quarterback offensive coordinator tandems in football. But yeah, the thing to watch with Caleb on if he's going to be, because I don't think it's if, I think Caleb has to be in your top 10 if you were ranking this list because of his ability and his tools and the state of the position across the league. Like you were saying with Jayden and his consistency, I feel the same way about Caleb. I think it is going to be his consistency as a pocket passer and his accuracy and his ability to get rid of the ball quickly that is going to, and his ability to limit like the super negative plays like the sacks and stuff like that, that's going to determine his ceiling as a quarterback. And not really does he belong in the top 10, but is he the number 1 quarterback to build around, or is he the number where he's at right now? Is he the number 8? Because I see it. There is wholeheartedly a world in which a year from now, 2 years from now, we go, Caleb is the guy to build around, or Caleb is the number 2 guy to build around. I still see that, and I'm not ready to give up on that, and that's why he's number 7. I could very well see him being higher on this list if we did this again next year.
I guess it's possible. I'm not saying that he can climb. It's definitely possible that he can climb. All the way to number 1, though, just because there's a certain fella in his same draft class who it's like, what realistically is the path to Caleb surpassing him? Like, Caleb's arm is a little bit crazier.
Like, I think I don't know, man. I mean,
but Drake's got crazy physical tools and is just so far ahead of him in terms of accuracy and processing.
I agree. It's why he's higher on this list. I'm just saying I can see it still with Caleb. I didn't feel this way about Trevor after, in year 2. I still feel that way.
That's interesting you say that because Trevor balled out in year 2. I think Trevor had a better second year than Caleb, which is part of why.
No, actually, I think I did feel that way about Trevor. I think it was Trevor in year 3 that made me sell, but I still feel this way about Caleb, and I still see the path to him getting into those conversations.
He's getting better. I'm interested in what people think. Like, am I lower than the consensus on Caleb now? That would be ironic.
I think we're probably both lower because of what we were talking about earlier with the attribution thing. Right. Like,
that's exactly what I was about to say.
When I was looking at the highest winning percentages of active quarterbacks in relation to merger all-time active, it's like
Darryl LaMonica.
Well, yeah, of course, he's number 1. He's the GOAT. But I was looking, and I was like, some people are probably going to be really pissed. I'll let the cat out of the bag, and it wasn't close for him being cut on my list. Oh, my God, we didn't have Jalen Hurts on our list, right?
Yeah.
The other guy that kept popping up in the list, and I'm sure some people would have him in their top 10s because of his age, I don't have Bo Nix on my list, right? And he's up in all these different categories as well. And so it's like, I think that probably factors into people's lists as well, where they go, oh, the Bears are number 1 in the NFC right now, and they would give that to Caleb. So I think we're probably lower than consensus.
Wins are not a quarterback stat. And I say it's ironic if we are lower because we both defended Caleb so much last year and said, hold on, wait it out. And I was so high on him as a prospect. But, sometimes these things change violently. And like you say, a team's success can swing so much because of so many factors, and then it gets disproportionately attributed to the quarterback. Ben Johnson literally came out this past week and said, we are winning not because of our passing game, but in spite of it. That's what the head coach said. So, Caleb has gotten better. Caleb still does have to get a fair bit better, though, to justify being at 7 on your list or higher if people were to have him there, because the story of this Bears team this season, it's mostly the run game. I mean, the fact that after the first 4 weeks, they've been the best run game in football, and that has made them this potent offense, and that's absolutely Ben Johnson coming in. That's the overhaul of this offensive line. That is the great strength of this offense and this team that I do think deserves to be commended the most. But, of course, Caleb is only in year 2, still with so much potential to grow into. I think that he belongs somewhere on this list, but I was looking at the MVP odds today, dude. He was 6th. He was above Sam Darnold and Patrick Mahomes, who have probably been 2 of the 5 guys making the best MVP cases this year for real. And Caleb, again, is not the most important component of his team's success to me this year. That would be the run game collectively. I just thought that was crazy, and it kind of made me wonder, are we having a little bit of QB win mania fever here? We'll see what the reaction to this is. Who is splitting the difference between these 2 young second-year quarterbacks for you, Logan, in that 8 spot?
I did think about having this guy above Caleb. Probably wouldn't be able to crack my top 6, but I definitely considered him for number 7. I have Jordan Love here in my spot, and it's weird. The knock on Jordan Love that I'm going to hammer home in this argument is the fact that he's not consistent enough to be in my top 6. The argument for why he should be above Caleb Williams at this point is because he's obviously just way more consistent than Caleb Williams. So I'm straddling this fence here where I am going to go with Caleb's upside over what Jordan Love has already shown us. Ironically, though, I still kind of feel like Jordan Love is underrated. I know people have been disappointed with the Packers this season, as have I with some of their losses. The loss to Cleveland against Carolina. And I do think some of these losses look a little bit better in retrospect after some of the season is played out. But you have to be disappointed with the Packers coming up short in some of these instances, and yet I think I put too much of the blame on Jordan Love in some of these games where they're missing key guys, their guys are dropping passes, and when I look across the league, and when I was diving into some of these deeper stats, I was like, wow, Jordan Love is actually one of the more consistent guys across the league. And this year of everybody kind of playing down, some of these stats blew me away. Jordan Love this season is the second best quarterback against the blitz. This is in terms of EPA in both of these stats, and he's a top 5 quarterback. He's one of 2 quarterbacks that are top 5 against man coverage and zone coverage this season. The only quarterback top 5 against both is Drake Maye. Drake Maye. He's a monster. Jordan Love is also 7th in sack percentage this season. He has let out the number 3 third down offense since he's took over as a starting quarterback in 2023. And so I get it when we're not in Toyotathon. It can look like Jordan Love may be among the worst quarterbacks in football, but when we're in Toyotathon, there's nobody better.
Too far.
I just can't ignore it. The stats are staggering, but I don't know. As I dived into some of these deeper stats, the cons against Love, again, and why he can't be among the top 6 guys to me are consistency and age. Like, that is another reason why I wouldn't have him above Caleb. He did sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a few years. He is older, relatively. He entered in Herbert and Burrow's draft class, but I still think Jordan Love is a franchise guy. I think he's got another 5 to 10 solid years of really dependable quarterback play. The reason that Love isn't higher outside of the consistency and age, with Caleb, I do see, and maybe this is short-sighted of me, maybe Jordan Love hasn't had the superstar talent that they could put alongside him at wide receiver that could elevate him to MVP status. The argument that I would make is I don't ever see a MVP level Jordan Love where he could be one of the top 5 guys, where I do feel, I look at all the top 5 guys and I go, these are MVP talents. Even with Caleb, I see the talent where I could go, maybe this guy could be one of the top 5 guys. I don't see that kind of ceiling with Jordan Love, and that's why ultimately he can't crack my list higher. But I did think maybe he should be number 7, because there is a floor that I'm getting with Love that I don't feel like I'm getting with some of these other guys.
He's in my 6th spot, Logan. I'm high on Jordan Love.
Ow!
Yeah.
Yo!
Yeah.
You're a wild man.
I'm a wild
I think I know who's in your 8th spot, and you're crazy, buddy.
Well,
you're insane.
Well, call me crazy, because I am. I'm a crazy SOB. But I meditated on this, Logan, and I spent some time with myself in a chamber of reflection.
Tienes cojones más grandes.
Gracias, amigo. And I thought about the fact I've always been high on Jordan Love, or at least over the couple years I've been high on him. But when I really looked inside myself and when I really, really dug into it, I decided I am a Jordan Love truther. I am very high on him, and I really think he has been so good this year. I do think he's underrated. Just in terms of a statistical profile, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in football this year. He is 3rd in passing EPA. He's got this 19-3 touchdown interception ratio, passer rating over 104, leading one of the most efficient passing attacks in football for the 3rd straight year, leading an offense that is top 3 in 3rd down percentage, and I believe 4th down percentage and red zone percentage, one of the best situational offenses, and doing all this with an offensive situation that has not been good around him. In previous years, we could have said, okay, they really set things up for Love with this incredibly efficient rushing attack, right? That is the first strength of the Packers offense, and he's got a great play caller in LaFleur. This year, the run game has been inefficient. It's fallen off a cliff. The offensive line has been bad. The receivers have been in and out. Tucker Kraft getting hurt, Jayden Reed being hurt. Those are the 2 guys who you would have looked at as his top 2 targets. And in spite of all that, he's putting up these elite numbers. He's leading a really good team offense. You mentioned his sack evasion. I mean, that is a superpower of his. Since he became a starter in 2023, he actually has the lowest sack percentage overall of anybody. A sack percentage of 4.3. That is really low. That is Mahomes-esque. That is Allen-esque. That is a great, great number. I mean, it's been better than both those guys over the last 3 years. I just struggle to see what Jordan Love is really missing. When we talk about him as a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now, I think he's there. A guy who is trending upwards, and a guy who, although, as you mentioned, is not Caleb Williams or CJ Stroud when it comes to youth, right? He is only 27. He just turned 27 years old. So he's one of the younger upper echelon quarterbacks for sure. And he's got great physical traits when it comes to having above average mobility. His arm obviously is incredible. I mean, he loves those fadeaway throws off his back foot, but he's pretty money on them. He can throw off platform, on the move, all this stuff. He is using his legs more this year, giving you a little bit more as a scrambler and as a runner. I feel like the one knock that people would try to hold against Jordan Love is, well, you mentioned it, inconsistency, or he can be careless sometimes, right? He can have a boneheaded turnover, but he's got the lowest turnover rate of any starting quarterback in the NFL this year. So if your knock on him is there's an ugly turnover every once in a while that sticks out in my mind, but he is turning the ball over less than anybody else. That just seems like a really nitpicky argument to keep him out of, again, your top 10 quarterbacks right now. We're lower on this list long term.
What, a reputation thing from the playoff
I think it
games?
is a reputation thing. No, I think it is a reputation thing, right? And we see how that can sort of linger and be difficult to overcome. Love, even if you look at the last 2 years, he was never really a high turnover guy. It was more the turnovers could come in bunches.
Yeah, and he likes taking shots. He's a gunslinger. I think he's gotten better at taking those shots while mitigating risk this season, though.
I totally agree. And again, even like in his first and second year as a starter, he was only throwing like 11 picks, but there might be a couple bad ones in one game and you would just be like, ooh, the floor there is low. He just hasn't done that this year. Like, he just has been great at taking care of the football while he does all these other good things. He can create, he can make really high level special arm talent kind of throws. He can escape, he can mitigate pressure really effectively. He's carrying a good offense that hasn't run the ball well, that hasn't protected well, that has had inconsistency in terms of receivers. Like, I'm just there with Jordan Love. So yes, you may think I'm crazy for the guy who I have him a couple spots higher than, but he's 2 years younger. He's got zero injury concerns. This guy's been totally available. That guy, who we'll talk about in a second, has huge injury concerns. And I do think that Love has the upside to continue getting better because of the physical traits. And look, obviously, him being 27 but only having 3 years as a starter is kind of a double-edged sword, because it's like, yeah, he doesn't have a lot of experience.
No, whatever. But it's like, I look at it more like the Alabama running backs theory, where it's like, this guy's got a lot of tread still on his tires because he hasn't played. He hasn't gotten hit. Like, there's a reason why Warren Moon was able to come into the, he played CFL ball. He hadn't played, like, I think that's more in his favor than against him.
Yeah, what I would say is, like, we can't treat him like he is a 24-year-old third-year starter, right? But we also shouldn't act like he is as finished a product as a 27-year-old who's been starting for 6 years.
100%.
It's somewhere in the middle, and so ultimately I think he is still trending upwards. This is not a finished product at quarterback yet, and this is already a really, really good quarterback. I'm very high on Jordan Love, and Logan, overall, I'm just back in on the Packers, baby. I still like the Rams more, but I don't know if there's anybody else I like more than Green Bay. Like, I
like Seattle.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Their offensive low points were rough, but as you said, I felt even in the moment, and especially now, like, that was much more so a combination of all the things around Love than it was Jordan Love, you're the problem, and it's just quarterback brain that kind of leads people to give him too much blame for some of that stuff.
Oh, and now they beat the Lions' ass twice, and Brian Branch is out for the rest of the season, most likely. So
they're just better than Detroit.
They are, just straight up. So I'm with you, man, and I am back in on Jordan Love, especially seeing him with a couple of weeks with Christian Watson back now, where, like, the receiving core isn't just completely depleted.
Yeah, this year feels very different from him. It feels like he has gone from being a guy who, yes, is efficient, but again, is to some extent being elevated, right? The Packers were
a byproduct
the
of his
volume
system.
passing team.
Agreed.
Exactly. More of a guy who is being elevated. Now he is the guy who is being asked to elevate the team. He's really one doing it.
He's the one who knocks.
He's the one who knocks. So I'm Jordan Love pilled. In my 8th spot, though.
You're bugging. Oh, my gosh.
Joe Burrow.
What is wrong with you, bro?
Okay, tell me what's wrong with me. Tell me why this is crazy. And
Joe Burrow is one of the most talented quarterbacks I have ever seen with my own two eyes. I think he is one of the most brilliant processors of the game. I think he is a master of moving within the pocket and buying time with his feet. No, he doesn't have the kind of athletic profile that a Lamar Jackson or a Mahomes or a Josh Allen has, but he is great at evading pressure and moving within the pocket to create throws. He has got an awesome arm. Like, my only knock against Joe, and I completely agree with you, I think that he's one of those accurate throwers of the football, right? Only he's got like an arm like a Mahomes or a Josh in terms of power, but accuracy, he is A1. The only knock I have on Joe is the injury history, which I don't think you can ignore. Unfortunately, I don't think that is solely his fault. Like, I think the offensive line play has been a huge part of that. And then the other knock I would say is that you haven't seen Joe Burrow in an offensive system where he has had to be the only guy propping it up. He has always had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to throw the football, and you've seen guys like Joe Flacco and Jake Browning come in stretches and lead the offense out to serviceable things. Now, I won't.
Jake Browning in the big 2023, not Jake Browning.
Yeah,
this
not
year,
this
who
year.
was the
Obviously,
worst
I'm just saying
quarterback I've ever seen. But 2023, they actually averaged more points per game in the games that Browning started, and they had a better record than they did with Burrow.
Certain stretches they were good.
Yeah.
My thing with Joe is, and I think that some people overrate Joe, because I think some people will say Joe went to a Super Bowl. Well, you do the quarterback brain thing. That overrides everything. Therefore, he's better than Josh Allen. He's better than Lamar because he went to a Super Bowl. Okay, I don't subscribe to that. But what I do subscribe to is Joe is one of the handful of smartest quarterbacks I have ever seen, the most accurate I have ever seen, and one of the best pocket manipulators I have ever seen. The guys that I compare him to when we were talking about archetypes and stylistical and talent are three guys. And again, I'm not saying he's as good as these guys, but in terms of play style, I think he emulates Tom Brady, Dan Marino, and Drew Brees. If I can ever get a guy like that, I'm taking him on my team. So I have him at number 6 because of injury history. I understand we are only separated by 2 spots. But I love Joe Burrow. I hate when he gets disrespected, and he is just – I think that Joe Burrow is one of the 15 most talented quarterbacks I have ever seen play the position. I would feel bad leaving him anywhere below number 6.
It's not that I don't think that Joe Burrow is an excellent quarterback. I'm not going to spoil my quarterback rankings for next week, right? But Joe Burrow is still going to be very high there. What I will say is I've never felt that he actually truly belongs among the big 3. I've always felt that there is a difference between what Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar do to elevate their offenses, how much their respective groups fall apart or would fall apart without them because of how much they elevate the entirety of their offense, especially with like their special A+ all-time creation and crazy athletic traits. And I do think that that point has been proven true, right? If you take Lamar Jackson off the Ravens going back to 2019, they average 16 points per game in games he misses, whereas they average almost 29 points per game when he plays. That's almost a 2-touchdown difference. Josh Allen leads out a top 5 offense every single year and does so much to elevate both the passing game and the rushing game of his team. Patrick Mahomes speaks for himself. Joe Burrow, if you look at the last 5 years, when he's on the field, the Bengals score 26.1 points per game. When he's off the field, they score 22.4 points per game. That's a difference, for sure. It's not the sort of monumental difference you would see with those other guys who every year, again, are able to elevate their team offense to a different level because they are just truly special offensive engines. Burrow is fantastic as a pocket passer. His accuracy, his processing.
You don't think he's an offensive engine?
I don't think that he is a Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen offensive engine. I just don't think that he is, and I think there's a lot of evidence to support that.
I mean, I agree with that. I don't think he's big 3 because I think those are top 10 talents at quarterback in NFL history. So I don't think he belongs with those guys. But the next group, I think it's like Burrow and Herbert and those guys, even though I have
Burrow, Herbert, Stafford, Dak, May. That's the next 5 for me. Absolutely.
Agreed.
When we're talking about these guys who are healthy, right? I slightly prefer Herbert. Ultimately, that's not what this is really about, though. What it's about is Burrow is not, one of those top 3 guys when healthy to the point where I could, overlook some of this injury stuff and say, okay, he's still a top 5 guy for me when I consider them as a building block. 3 of his 6 seasons in the NFL have featured a major injury. That really freaks me out, man. Like I mentioned earlier, since 2020, when you look at full-time starters, I believe he has missed the second most games of anybody due to injury. That's pretty much it.
I mean, it's a good argument, and it's a really big concern, no doubt. My counter to that would be I think Burrow plays a style of football that isn't really predicated on athleticism, and I don't think these really will affect him. He
keeps getting significantly injured. It's not about how is his game going to age. It's about, is he going to be on the field week after week, year after year?
I get that. That's why I docked him to number 6. But I understand your argument. My thing is just he's so damn good when he's available, and I think that when he comes back, I don't think these are going to significantly alter his play style. I understand your argument about him just being there, but I think that if he can stay healthy, I don't think these are going to make him a worse quarterback.
No, I agree. I mean, he's 2-time comeback player of the year, dude. He's got the Ryan Tannehill award. There's no question. We will continue to see Burrow get hurt, and when he comes back, he will ball out again because he's really, really good when he's on the field. But he's on the field way less than all these other guys. He is older, he's in the 2020 draft class, but he's older than Lamar Jackson. He's much closer in age to a Josh Allen than he is a Jordan Love.
In
2
days.
Yeah. He's 29 years old effectively, whereas Herbert is still 27.7. Jordan Love literally just turned 27. So he's on the older side of some of these guys, like where that's not a significant knock. But if I compare it to like a Jordan Love, the couple extra years, complete lack of health concerns, I don't think that Jordan Love is ever going to be as good, probably, as Joe Burrow was in 2024. I would just rather have the guy who I think can be reasonably close to that good, who I'll have for longer, who I'll have on the field more.
I get it. I just think Joe Burrow is such a supremely better quarterback. But the other thing that I would mention along with the injuries thing, I worry about Burrow in the sense that maybe not as much as he can't even stay available. I worry about him getting fed up with the Bengals organization and kind of pulling an Andrew Luck where he's like, you guys can't even put a competent offensive line in front of me. I'm propping up this sorry-ass organization, because I think Cincy's one of the biggest poverty franchises in the NFL. Like, I think they have horrible ownership. I think that Joe Burrow has been propping this franchise up ever since he got drafted to them. Like, I really do, man. I think when we look at the worst organizations in football, I think it's the New York Jets. The Jets take the cake. I don't really think there's anybody that's really close to them, but it's like the Jets and the Bengals. I just think they're jokes. And I worry about Joe just getting fed up and being like, all right, I got my money. I did what if he gets one more, and I get that, maybe that point I'll be like, well, fuck, man, this guy's like Michael Penix. He just really can't stay on the field. Like, maybe that'll be the nail in the coffin for me, but the other side, I do worry about him just being tired of Cincy never being able to figure it out. And because it's not only just that, too. Like, what if the defense is still worst in the league next year when he's healthy? They win 9 fucking games. He balls out 5,000 yards, 40 TDs, and he's like, what's the point?
I understand that. I will say, if we compare him to his classmate Justin Herbert, both of these guys have been put in pretty tough situations. I do think, though, Herbert has been the one more consistently in the shitty situations, who has been able to physically hold up, and overall whose ability to elevate these situations I've been more impressed with, especially this year. I just think as Herbert has dialed up his use of his legs, gotten a little bit more aggressive, his physical traits are so A+. His processing is also amazing. Like, if I am just going trait by trait, I do think that Herbert is the slightly better quarterback than Burrow. I think that he is genuinely a pretty flawless quarterback, whereas with Burrow, I worry more about the durability. He doesn't have that same level of arm talent. He doesn't quite have that same size and frame that a Herbert does, and he has had the Jamar and T factor. So I'll say this, I think I'm a little bit lower on healthy Burrow than the consensus, and that's why I can stomach having him at 8, where maybe you can't. But I really do want to emphasize, as I'm making some of those points, the big thing here is just health. It's just how concerned I am by that, this recurring theme of every other year, he's done for the year, or this year he misses almost 3 months. That is a concern no other quarterback in my top 10 has. You're talking about docking Jayden Daniels, who I did too. This is 1 year, and it's 2 injuries in 1 year, but one instance of him giving us cause for concern. And there's the play style factor of it, sure. Burrow, it is a very consistent, pervasive issue, and that's why I have him down at number 8 above everything else. Shall we get into the top 5, Logan?
Yeah, you're alluding to it. I've got Justin Herbert in my next spot. Do you?
I have Justin Herbert in my 5 spot as well.
Yeah, I think both of these guys are great elevators. The only edge I would give Burrow over Herbert, I think Burrow, and it's close, so this is a very minute point, but I think Herbert has a lower floor than Burrow. I think Herbert can bottom out worse than Burrow. That's a very marginal point, though. I think by and large, both of these guys have been put in really shitty situations. I really wish the Chargers could have stayed healthy with Slater and Alt this year, and we could have seen what they were truly capable of at full health, because the Chargers have a bottom 3 offensive line in football right now. And I don't know, man. It's weird. it's just so interesting to me. Like, Herbert had all of these career years under Staley statistically where the teams just weren't competitive enough. He's leading out these top 5 offenses every year. Everybody's like, oh, Herbert's not that good because he choked in the playoffs 1 year under Staley, and the teams aren't ever winning a bunch of games. But that's not Herbert's fault at all. He's doing all that he can. And then last year, they figure out the defense and the offensive line and the running passing game balance, and they win they win the most they ever had. And Herbert doesn't put up these gaudy statistical numbers, so then they don't want to give him credit. It's just this, like, constant. Herbert has one of the most just interesting discourses, I think, about any quarterback I've ever had the pleasure of watching. Like, it is just so. Him and Bo Nix, man. That whole fucking division, him, Bo Nix, and Geno, man. Like, just the discourse around those guys is always so interesting to me, but I buy into Herbert, man. The guy's like Superman to me. He's a Greek freaking god. Like,
Yeah.
put the ball in his hands. He's got a rocket arm, one of the best in football. Like you said, dude, he's a genius processor. He has got amazing physical tools to create out of the pocket when he needs to. He's extremely durable. Like, and I think that can get overlooked sometimes, where people may be like,
dude.
oh, he gets hurt all the time. Bro, he gets hit all the time. Like, the fact that he can take these kind of beatings, and I shit on Phillip Rivers for a long time, but the one thing that I will never shit on Phillip Rivers for is how tough he was as a quarterback. There are just guys that Brett Favre, Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers, Justin Herbert, man, I can't even give Big Ben that nod because Big Ben would miss plays. Those guys, and Eli Manning, I'll give Eli some credit. Those guys could get consistently rocked, and they would always get up and come back in battle. Herbert's one of the toughest guys, I think, and I do think that is an edge that I would give him over Burrow. It's not just that. It's like you mentioned, there's a different level of arm talent with Herbert.
Yeah.
There's a different level of scrambling ability that I get with Herbert, and then the durability factor is the cherry on top. And like you mentioned, I wouldn't do this to Burrow against a lot of guys when we were looking at Herbert versus Burrow's situation. The fact that Herbert has been so successful without having that kind of number one, and I think T. Higgins is a number one too. This isn't just a Jamar thing. Like, Joe Burrow has 2 number one receivers on his roster. When I look at Herbert, and the only number one he had for any point of time was Keenan Allen for a few years at the beginning of his career. So this one wasn't as close to me. I was pretty concretely able to go Herbert over Burrow.
Yeah, Herbert's a no-brainer in my top 5. The funny thing is, like, the one thing that people will hold against him is, oh, he hasn't won enough games, which, again, I think is a very silly thing to hold against the quarterback when he has mostly had horrific run games, for most of his career had horrific defenses. That's gotten better in the last 2 years, but nevertheless, Justin Herbert, I believe, is 5th in wins since he entered the NFL. He actually has 8 more wins in his career than Joe Burrow, and part of that is availability. Yeah, but that's part of delivering value to your football team, is being on the field. And I do think he does so much to salvage these situations. Like, I think the Chargers' offensive line this year with their injuries has probably been the worst in the NFL. Now, the Raiders would have something to say about that. The Raiders have been disgusting, but it is just ridiculous, the hell that Herbert is being put through, and he is still able to lead to solid team offense, carrying this team with the passing. His ability to deal with pressure, his raw arm talent is nuts, as you said. His accuracy is elite. His processing, his pocket presence, all of this stuff is phenomenal. And he's like got this career high scramble rate this year and has actually been really effective on the ground. He's averaging 30 rushing yards per game and 6.2 yards per rushing attempt. Since he came into the league, he's 4th in passing yards. He's 4th in passing touchdowns. If you look at the Chargers when he's on the field, they average over 24 points per game. They're a legitimately good offense when he's off the field, and this is only a 5-game sample, but that number drops to 16 points per game. We're talking about an 8-point per game difference, and like, they've looked completely incompetent when he doesn't play. They played 4 games without him in 2023. They lost them all. Famously, the first week, I believe, after he got hurt, with Easton Stick in the game, they went down 49-0 to the Raiders. Like, he is this franchise. He is the reason they are respectable, the reason they are a good football team, and I just give him so much credit for that. He's so consistent. He's so great at so much. There's nobody I would consider putting above him other than the 4 guys who I do have above him. Just 27.7 years old still, so a lot of prime Justin Herbert left, and I can't wait to watch it because this guy just delivers year after year, regardless of what people tell you, and I pray to God that fucking Alt and Slater are healthy for next year and the Chargers can actually put him in a reasonable situation where they can make a deep run that wouldn't be predicated upon Justin Herbert literally playing perfect, heroic football every single week, which isn't sustainable for any quarterback on the planet. Should we get into the top 4, Logan?
I'm so excited. I am so excited for what propaganda you may spread.
Okay, interesting. Well, who's in your 4 spot first?
I'll rip the Band-Aid off. I have Drake Maye in my 4 spot. Okay. And I don't want to pop a balloon because I think this is kind of the most interesting conversation on the show today. Where does Drake Maye belong among these gentlemen? Me, personally, my kind of logic on this is if we were doing an age thing, like below 25, Drake Maye would be number 1. It is absolutely no question. And the only 3 guys I can have him below are the big 3. I just have such an immense amount of respect for these 3 quarterbacks that I wouldn't feel right putting anyone above them at this point in their careers. I think these are 3 of the most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen. They are 3 top offensive engines that I have ever seen, and they have been doing it so consistently year in, year out for the past 5 years that if I'm looking 5 years to a decade from now, I think they give me the best chance to win a Super Bowl. That being said, if you were going to make a case for Drake, it's the fact that he is so young, he is so good in his second year, he still has more room to potentially grow, and that he is on that rookie contract. Maybe it's a little bit easier to build that championship contender around him while he is on that deal. That being said, I hate saying anything negative, but it's like Drake's only been doing this for this season, and we haven't seen it against the stiffest competition in big spots, and I've just seen it with the big 3. And I think that talent-wise, they are 3 of the top 10 quarterbacks that I have ever seen. And I would just need to see Drake do it for another, I guess, like half a year to a year before I'm like, okay, this is the quarterback that I think I know who Drake is. I guess I would just need to see it a little bit longer. So I feel like I'm so confident in what I'm getting with Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar.
Not seeing the vision? Sad? That's okay.
I really hope you have Drake at number 1, though, man. I'm going to pop a chub. I can't lie.
You'll see where I have Drake Maye. It's not at number 4. In my 4 spot, I have Lamar Jackson. This was a pretty easy decision for me. He's too great to have him any lower than this. He's one of the greatest regular season offensive engines ever. I mentioned that almost 13-point per game difference in Baltimore scoring when he's on the field compared to off it back to 2019. That's just ridiculous. He has elevated offenses that haven't had the best receiving talent, that haven't necessarily had the best offensive line, because he is the most impactful quarterback in the run game that we've ever seen, and he leads to just elite, historic rushing attack year after year. And he is an extremely efficient passer who has so much arm talent, who has just continued to get more accurate and better as a processor. And last year had one of the greatest statistical campaigns we've ever seen and one of the greatest 2-man MVP races we've ever seen between him and Josh Allen. Lamar, when he's on the field, when he's right, is one of the best ever. The reason I say it's not that tricky, though, for me to have him down at 4 is because he has just been a bit less dependable than Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And I mean that in a couple senses. If you look at the last 5 years, regular season overall, Josh Allen has given you 4,200 more total yards, 71 more total touchdowns. That's an average of 800 yards more than that and 14 touchdowns a year. Do I think that Josh Allen is that much better than Lamar Jackson? Absolutely not. But I do think Josh's production year over year has been a bit more consistent, right? Like Lamar had down seasons if you look at 2021 and 2022. Now, I think that he's just a better football player than he was then. Now, I think he is improved. But I also think, like, if you look at Josh and Mahomes, they have the most consistent greatness of all of these guys over the last 6 years. Are you including,
like, durability when you're talking about this?
Well, this is the other big point. I think that that's largely what the difference in production speaks to also, just availability, right? Like Josh's availability, Pat's availability has been much more consistent than Lamar, who 3 of these last 5 seasons now has at least had a stretch where he's banged up, where he misses 4 or 5 games. That just never happens with Mahomes and Josh. They are always on the field. Josh Allen is going to give me close to 5,000 yards of offense and 40 touchdowns and lead my team to be a top 5 offense every single year. Mahomes is going to be out there for 16, 17 games every single year. I cannot say that about Lamar. And the only other reason that I do slightly prefer both Mahomes and Josh to him, even when they are both fully healthy, is I do think both those guys have the significantly better resume as playoff performers. The playoff issues with Lamar, 13 total touchdowns to 11 turnovers, 84 passer rating. I think sometimes he gets criticized too much for that over a small sample size. I think Lamar has the potential to go nuclear in a playoff run, but nevertheless, the production, the efficiency we've seen from the other 2 guys of the big 3 in the playoffs is just much better. But yeah, availability here, again, is as big a factor as anything. And that's why I think it'd be really hard for even the biggest Lamar fan to argue he belongs above those guys, because it's like, if Lamar is going to play 80% of the games and Josh and Mahomes are going to play 99% of the games.
I mean, big Lamar fans would just argue it too.
I guess.
They just think Lamar is the best quarterback in football. No, I know Lamar fans. Like, they would just argue that he's just the best quarterback in football, and that would be their argument, that he's the best offensive engine. Like, I always hear.
That's hard.
No, I think it's a stupid argument. I think it's a stupid argument. I think you're just wrong.
He could ever be better than those guys by enough margin, if you do think he's better, to offset the clear difference in availability.
That being said, one, the durability concern is the reason that I thought about putting him below Drake Maye. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it because I feel about Lamar Jackson, I just think he's going to win a Super Bowl. I think Lamar is so good. I think that if Lamar Jackson... check me. Please check me if this is a ridiculous take, Carson. If Lamar Jackson doesn't win a Super Bowl, I think he is the best, most talented quarterback ever to not do it. That includes Dan Marino, and I know what Dan Marino did, and I know how great he is as a quarterback. It would be the most.
Josh Allen never wins a Super Bowl.
If Josh is number 1, but I think Josh is going to get one too. I think it's Josh and Lamar. If they don't get one, are the most disappointing 2 quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl ever. I will feel as a Steelers fan, I like watching Lamar play because he is so great at this sport. Like, I am going to feel empty a little bit as a fan. I don't feel that way about Herbert and Burrow because I don't think they're as good as these guys. If Herbert and Burrow don't get one, I'll go, all right, they got close. They were great quarterbacks. They're all-timers, top 20 talents. They didn't get one. All right, we see guys like that come through. If Josh and Lamar don't get one, I'm going to feel empty a little bit as a fan that they never got it done. And basically what I'm getting back around to is Lamar is so talented. I just feel like he is one of those guys that is going to go on a run in the playoffs. And obviously, this goes without being said for all of these guys too. You have to have the team around you to get it done. Because when we talk about Josh, I've got some stats on Josh that are really special, and I think they're going to hammer home how great he is and how we always talk about how these playoff losses aren't his fault. I do want to give some love to Lamar, though, too, and why I have him at this 3 spot for me. They have been the number 1 rushing attack in football every single year that Lamar Jackson has been healthy. No other quarterback can say that in NFL history. He is number 6 in terms of career rushing yards per attempt by a quarterback. Since he took the leap and became the Ravens' full-time starter 2019 when he won an MVP, they are the number 3 offense by points per game, they are the number 4 offense by yards per game, and they are the number 7 offense by third down percentage. Lamar is number 9 in career winning percentage all time, and he is number 5 in career winning percentage post-merger. That being said, why he is still below those guys to me, and you said it, Carson, injuries, playoff performance. They go from 27 points per game in the regular season when Lamar is healthy to 18 points per game in the playoffs. The other component, and this is something to just monitor because I'm not going to knock Lamar for this, Lamar's rushing attempts, and I wonder if the injuries this season have factored in, are the lowest they have been in his career.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a double-edged sword because a part of me goes, this is good for Lamar. He has progressed enough as a passer that he can get it done through the air, and maybe that leads to him getting injured less. And I do think that's true. I think that he would get injured less, and I think that he has progressed as a passer. The other side of me goes, that is a significant part of why Lamar Jackson is special, and I think he needs to continue weaponizing that to maximize his ability. So I think there are some red flags that are hard to ignore, but again, in summation, Lamar's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. I think he's going to win a Super Bowl, and he's one of 3 guys that I have the most confidence in to winning me a Super Bowl over the next handful of years. So Lamar's number 3 for me.
I totally get that. The rushing point to me, I think like Lamar just has to be Lamar, and his greatest A+ strength, even though he has gotten so good as a passer, it's always going to be that rushing, and not just the offense he creates on the ground, but the increased threat of his legs on every play when he's using them more. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that we have seen Lamar running less and less effectively since he came back from injury, and this has been like the worst 4-game stretch he's ever had. I mean, he's been bad over these last 4 games. That is very, very rare from Lamar. His regular season bar is as high as anybody in NFL history, and so, yeah, maybe there is a physical component factoring into that right now, but big picture, I think, even though it does expose him to more hits, like, I want Lamar to be using his legs to their utmost effectiveness. And the playoff point, like you mentioned, both he and Josh are so great that they absolutely should get one. Football is a cruel sport. It is a 53-man roster. There are 2 sides of the ball and 3 phases of the game, and sometimes the best of the best ever don't win a Super Bowl. And that can be by no fault of their own. Dan Marino's the best to ever not win a Super Bowl, right? I do think that Josh and Lamar not winning a Super Bowl up to this point, not getting to the Super Bowl, falls into 2 different categories, though. And we've talked about this before, but, like, Josh has been phenomenal in the playoffs. He just has. He is historically...
Do you want me to read off the numbers? I got them all.
Do it.
I love these stats on Josh, but he is number 2 in total yards per playoff game by a quarterback. He is number 4 in total TDs per playoff game by a quarterback. And most significantly, when people bring these arguments up against Josh, he is number 2 in fewest turnovers per playoff game by a quarterback. So the 3 most major categories, he is top 3 and top 5 in.
And I believe he's number 1 in touchdown to turnover ratio in the playoffs. Like, he's been fantastic there. Lamar, you just can't say that. I read off his individual numbers earlier. And also, the reason that the Bills have fallen short is their defenses have been disastrous. The Ravens have held opposing teams to like 17 points per game in the playoffs. Their defenses have been really good.
What sucks is I thought Lamar played pretty well last time we saw him in the playoffs, like when they lost to the Bills and played against Pittsburgh. That's the best we've ever seen him. But we also have other games from earlier in his career when their defenses did pull their weight. And he put up a dud against the Titans, 2 of them. He put up a dud against Kansas City in the AFC title game. It's like we just can't ignore his individual performances and the individual letdowns of the offense and just overlook them because we want to. And overlook that Josh has played his ass off in basically every playoff game he's ever played, man. So, like, I think Lamar has played better in the most recent playoff runs. He's never, ever played as well as Josh has in a playoff run.
And he's never played as well as regular season Lamar. Like, that's the thing. Even last year, yeah, he was really good in that second half against the Bills, but he had 2 hugely costly turnovers in the first half that put them in that hole. 2023, you only put up 10 points on the Chiefs. Yes, you have the Zay Flowers fumble, but also, like, 10 points, man. That's not going to get it done.
I mean, Lamar's got a turnover in that game, and, like,
yeah.
You've got the what else? Obviously, they run the ball to their running back 6 times in that game. That was a stupid game plan, but you're the quarterback, man. You got to wear that.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think Lamar is absolutely amazing. One of the greatest talents to ever play the game, but it was clear to me that he was going to end up at number 4 on this list. You have Lamar in your 3 spot. I have Josh Allen in my 3 spot. My GOAT. Logan is shocked. Logan is flabbergasted.
My gosh, the propaganda is going to be at an all-time high. Let's go.
Logan, it's not propaganda. If I were ever to push propaganda, which I don't because I'm an honest journalist and I only ever say what I truly believe to be true, but wouldn't I be pushing it for, my favorite football player ever and not the guy who plays for my least favorite team in the NFL? And there's really only one team that I do dislike in the NFL, and it's the New England Patriots, but I will not deny what I believe to be true. Anyways, I have Josh in my 3 spot. I do just want to take a moment to appreciate his truly historic standing at this age. You already mentioned the playoff numbers. We don't need to revisit those. But if you look at the guys with the most total touchdowns before turning 30, which Josh is about to do after this season, Josh has 292. Second most is Mahomes at 263. I mean, it's a major gap between him and everybody else in terms of touchdown production. He already has the most consecutive 40-plus touchdown seasons. He's got 5 of them. It's probably going to be 6 after this year. If you look at the most total yards by a quarterback before turning 30, he is about to pass Peyton for number 3 all-time. This week he's going to do that. If he keeps up his yards per game pace that he's set so far this season up through the end of the year, he will pass Mahomes for number 2 very narrowly at the end of this season. So that is not guaranteed to happen, but it very well could happen. So we're talking about potentially second in yards by this age. First by far in touchdowns already locked up, and a guy who year after year has let out some of the absolute best offenses in football. I was thinking about this earlier today as I was pondering my frustrations with the Bills offense. And we've talked about this before, but it's like being really mad at the Bills offense is being mad at them because they're 4th in yards and points per drive, and they're 6th in passing efficiency and 4th in rushing efficiency. 95% of offenses in the NFL would be thrilled with those numbers, but the Bills have set the bar so high, since 2020, they by far rank number 1 in points per game, 29 per game. They are number 1 in yards per game. They are number 1 in third down offense. They are number 3 in fourth down offense. They are number 2 in red zone offense. They have clearly been the best offense in the NFL overall across that 6-year span. That is with all sorts of moving parts around Josh. Offensive line, running backs, receivers, play callers. He gives you one of the highest regular season offensive floors in NFL history. You are going to be an elite offense if Josh Allen is on the field. And I say regular season, but as we talked about statistically, he's been even better in the playoffs. The Bills' offense has been unbelievable in the playoffs. This is why I could not have him any lower than this. The reason I don't have him in my top 2, and this is maybe some breaking news for Nerd Sesh listeners, because last year, I called Josh the best quarterback in the world. And I believe that he was better than Patrick Mahomes last year. I thought that he was playing perfect football. He had the superhero Josh Allen traits that he always will when it comes to just one-of-a-kind physical ability at his size, with his insane rushing threat, his power as a runner, his unbelievable ability to escape the pocket, his ridiculous creativity, the ability to make any throw on the planet, all that stuff coming together with a historically low turnover rate. The Bills last year had the fewest turnovers of any team in NFL history. A historically low sack rate. Josh Allen, in terms of his negative play rate, had the lowest negative play rate of any quarterback in NFL history with as much offensive volume as he had. It was the epitome of efficiency, of blending superhero athleticism with surgical precision and consistently staying ahead of the chains. It was just perfect quarterback play. This year, I just think Mahomes has been better. I think that Mahomes has been unbelievable. I'll give credit to him when we talk about him specifically in the areas where I think he's clearly been better. And Josh hasn't quite been the same as last year. There have been more turnovers, more spots in which it feels like he's pressing a little bit, where he makes a questionable decision. And look, I think that stuff is pretty much always overblown with Josh as a criticism. But last year, again, he was the best in football at it. This year, that just hasn't been the case. He's taken more sacks and hasn't been as superhumanly great at dealing with that pressure. I think he's still 3rd in terms of best EPA per dropback under pressure. But last year, again, he was flawless. This offense just hasn't had the same rhythm. And I am really frustrated with this Bills offense because of how little it allows Josh to be Josh. And that is a combination of the bland play calling, the limited wide receiver talent, which is a big problem, the hyper-conservative philosophy offensively that Joe Brady has right now.
I wish we'd let quarterbacks call plays again, man, and just let Josh get out there and run the offense.
It would be very fun to see him unleashed more. And last week felt like the first time all year they've really let him use his legs on third down, which is just such a superpower of his. They've gotten into this mindset of, we need to protect him. He can't take hits. We need to get the ball out quickly. We need to really prioritize the offensive line and the run game so there isn't as much of a crazy burden on his shoulders, and we can be a more balanced offense and all this stuff, right? Which has come at the expense of the toys that he has to play with in the passing game, their aggression in the passing game. And look, it's great that you can go against the Steelers and run duo 20 times in the game and literally just beat them like that, right?
29 times.
29 times
exact,
in the game,
yeah.
right? The
way to
run
make
game was
adjustments,
unstoppable.
Coach T.
Way to go, Coach T. But also, that Bills run game with James Cook with this offensive line, it's exceptional. But also, this is the least I've enjoyed watching Bills football since Josh took the leap. And I'm not saying they should make their decisions based on what's fun. I do believe this offense is at their best when they strike the balance while letting Josh be creative, air it out more. They need those explosives. When you are dependent on stringing together 14 play drives, right? And when you take the ball out of your superhero quarterback's hands, or you say, we've got to get it out in 2 seconds, you don't allow him to do what he does best, you can still be a very good statistical offense, but you won't be maxing out your potential. And that's how I feel about the Bills right now. But again, that's not a Josh thing. He hasn't played his best, but I do think the situation is leading to him not having his best production, even though, I mean, he's still averaging over 8 yards per attempt. He's got a 100 passer rating. He's, I believe, got the most touchdowns in the NFL now, most total touchdowns. Maybe Stafford just barely has him for that number one spot, but like, it's Josh Allen. The consistency in terms of production year after year is absurd. And yeah, he's led to the most consistently great team offense. If you look overall since 2020, he is second in total yards, only behind Mahomes. He is number one in total touchdowns by far. Like, the historic production year over year combined with that elite team offense he has led to in the 2020s, Josh stands atop the mountain in that regard. That being said, Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, is overall at the greatest extended peak of quarterback play we've ever seen. I just think he's playing better right now, tangibly in some of these areas. And so that's why I give him the nod. Again, like, to some extent, the burden is on anybody else to prove they are better than Mahomes. And I actually think Josh hit that incredibly, incredibly high bar last year. I don't think he's hitting it this year. Well, while Mahomes has elevated his play back closer to like a 2022 level. And, you know, Josh is 1 year younger than Mahomes, but that just doesn't really matter to me. I'm not somebody who is worried about how Josh's game is going to age, and his durability is so exceptional. But if I had to choose like who's going to age a little bit better, I probably would choose Mahomes, because Josh is just a little bit more reliant on that rushing, even though, like,
I think Josh is just gonna change his play style as he gets older. I think it'll be kind of like, not. Let me be clear when I say this so it doesn't get misconstrued. I think it'll be like Big Ben, and I don't mean in the sense that Josh is going to suddenly become immobile like a fridge like old Ben, but he'll just become more and more of a pocket passer. Slow. It is. And
it's already happening.
Like it's just going to be more and more gradual year over year. But I don't think
2021 Josh was running the ball 6.3 times a game. Last couple of years, honestly, it's been at like 5. Like, I don't really think it's going to.
It's not really going to make that much of a difference when it comes playoff time, though. I think he's still going to deploy it when he needs to, you know?
I agree. I totally agree. So I really have very, very minimal concerns. I think Josh is going to age well, and he's as dependable as they come.
He is. That's why he's number 2 to me. I don't look at Josh as a different quarterback because he's slightly worse than last year. I never moved off of Pat as my number 1 quarterback. It would take someone just taking it from Pat, them going on a playoff run, mowing down somebody.
And I'll say this just real quick. I have been so high on Josh. If you were to go through my quarterback rankings, I would have gone 2022, Mahomes 1, Josh 2. 2021, Mahomes 1, Josh 2. 2022, Mahomes 1, Josh 2. 2023, Mahomes 1, Josh 2. Like, that had been my ranking every year. So that's been stamped as the top 2 for me for a while. Again, I thought Josh was so exceptional last year that he earned that top spot, but I just think Mahomes has been better this year. But Josh is not going to move lower than 2 for me. Like, that's not even really a consideration, because like the only guy who could push for that spot is Lamar, and Josh has been clearly better than Lamar this year. So there's not an argument there to me.
Yeah, just a few additional stats on Josh that I got here. He's 19th in career winning percentage all-time, 13th career winning percentage post-merger. You mentioned all the team offensive stats, and then I mentioned the playoff numbers. Here are some of the regular season ones. Number 1 in career rushing touchdowns now by a quarterback. I think Josh is just one of the best rushing quarterbacks of all time now officially, especially with what damage he can do in the red zone. Sure. I think it's him and Cam Newton, and I think Josh is better considering how much longer he did it for as a red zone scoring threat. He is number 1 in total touchdowns per game by a quarterback in NFL history. He's also number 7 in total yards per game by a quarterback. That is regular season. Josh is number 2 until further notice to me. But
can I say one more thing real quick about Josh? I would say the best red zone quarterback ever, as you were hinting at. And I would say maybe the second best third down quarterback ever. I mean, statistically, he's led the best third down offenses. I think the combination of the rushing threat that he has. I mean, if you get to third and medium, I feel like Josh is going to get it every time because there's the
if they put the ball in his hands.
Yeah, if they put the ball in his hands. If it's not a screen to Khalil Shakir, who never runs routes anymore, who only gets screens. But, I mean, like, the rushing threat is so crazy. And when it comes down to we just need even 5, Josh can carry multiple defenders for 2-3 yards. The power aspect is so crazy there, and obviously he's such an elite passer. But the reason that I say maybe number 2, I think he and Mahomes are clearly the 2 best third down quarterbacks. But just when it comes to that situational excellence, if you're the best red zone quarterback and you're a top 2 third down quarterback, yeah, you're one of the best ever, and that's what Josh is. But you're into your number 1 spot. I won't say who I have in my number 2 spot or my number 1 spot. I'll allow the Mahomes glaze from Logan Camden first.
Yeah, Mahomes has to be number 1 for me. There's nobody else I'd want under center. The only knock you can have on the guy is that he's 30 years old. And I don't know. Maybe Mahomes gets tired of football. Like, that's kind of the only knock that I could have on Mahomes. But it's like, I remember people in 2012 when Tom Brady had just turned 30 or, it was like 33, 34. And they're like, can't have much more of this, right? And then, he played another 12 years. So, like, who's to say Mahomes doesn't have...
The cliff is coming.
Yeah, the cliff is coming, man. It's inevitable. Oh, I love Max Kellerman. That is the worst football take of all time.
Let me say this. The process was not the worst. The results were the worst.
It's
he
like
banks
it's such
on
a
Tom
great
Brady
take.
Being like every other quarterback in NFL history, but he was
Father Time lost to Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous, man. That's kind of the only knock I feel like you can have on Mahomes, man. 3-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time MVP. I'm about to spew a lot of numbers at you, so brace yourselves. Number 4, career winning percentage all time. He's number 2 winning percentage post-merger regular season. Number 1 in total yards per game by a quarterback. Number 2 in total TDs per game by a quarterback. Allen is number 1 in terms of third down offense since 2020. Mahomes is number 2. He is number 3 in total TDs per playoff game, 5th total yards per playoff game, and 6th in fewest turnovers per playoff game. And my favorite thing about Mahomes this year is he is the number 1 quarterback, and it's not even close by far this year in terms of being under pressure, having success under pressure by a quarterback this season. He has become so good at dealing with the blitz and dealing with guys when he's under duress. He's such a monster. I don't have anything. I don't know. I don't have anything negative to say about Mahomes, man. I think he's the greatest quarterback that I have ever seen. I don't really care that he's 30. The only debate I will say on the Drake Maye standing, I did consider Maye over Lamar. That was the one that I was debating. If Maye should be 3, Lamar should be 4. But I kind of felt like if I had Maye at 3 because of his upside maybe contract, that I should probably just have Maye number 1 because, like, if I'm just going to make the age debate, I should just kind of go for the upside. But that, again, all of these guys are so proven to me, and Mahomes is proven on a different level that Mahomes is the greatest quarterback I ever saw. And so I seriously considered Maye up to 3, but I really didn't seriously consider Maye in my 2 or 1 spot out of the immense amount of respect I have for Mahomes and Allen. And, again, all 3 of these guys are just so much more established and still have, in my opinion, another 5+ years of excellence at the quarterback spot. But I don't fault you, man. When you were talking about, and this is where I thought you were going to segue towards, when you're talking about those elite third down quarterbacks, man, red zone quarterbacks, those guys that have it all, how you were describing with Allen where you can just run him on 3rd and 5 and he can get there, like, Maye is one of those special talents to me.
Yeah.
Where is he on your list, man? Is he number 1? Is he top dog, Carson? Please, man.
I have Patrick Mahomes in my number 2 spot. I do have Drake Maye number 1. I do. It's like if I'm going to have Maye over Josh, I'm probably going to have him over Mahomes too. I mean, it's the exact same principle. The same reason I have him over both of them, which is just way more time. That 6-year, 7-year difference in age is really significant to me. I'll get back to that in a second. Let me just talk about why I have Mahomes above Josh now, or why I flipped that from last year real quick, because I talked about the areas in which Josh hasn't been as great, as flawless as last year. I also think, even though if we're comparing the two, Mahomes clearly has the better receivers this year than Josh. I would say by a significant margin. I think his receiving core is actually legitimately good, whereas Josh's is pretty problematic at this point. Mahomes is also leading a top 2 offense in points per drive with a lackluster run game. And he's been more accurate compared to Josh. He's been better in terms of sack evasion, where, again, Josh hasn't been his best this year. Mahomes has still been exceptional. Those are 2 of the best, if not the 2 best ever at that attribute. Pat has been better there this year. He made a couple fewer mistakes, and really, he has just been absolutely exceptional improvising in like extended drop back situations. He's been the best in the NFL when it comes to having the best EPA on passing plays that go over 2.5 seconds. He's also using his legs with career best effectiveness. It's just like, when I think about the consistency with which Mahomes is just like executing so damn well on some of these gotta have it third downs under pressure, it's superhuman stuff. It's peak 2022 Mahomes kind of stuff. And so I just think he's been more consistent. I do think, well, there's a strong argument that Drake Maye has been the best quarterback in football, like purely this year, especially if you look at the numbers or whatnot. But when it comes to like who's played the best, yeah, or Stafford, but Stafford also has like one of the best receiving cores ever. I don't know. Like, I do think still the creation that you're getting from like these top-notch athletes does give them an edge. But Mahomes has just been playing clearly at that best quarterback in the world level that we expect from him, that he hadn't necessarily been at in the 2023 and 24 regular seasons, even though I thought he was still great in those years and the numbers sold him short and people were overly critical. Like, this is the highest quarterback peak ever on full display. This is peak Patrick Mahomes, which is ironic because the Chiefs are 6-6, and like a lot of people are acting like, ooh, what's going on with Mahomes and the Chiefs? I think he's playing unbelievably well, and enough so to justify having him back over Josh on this list. But like I said, the difference with Drake Maye, it is not that I think he is going to be at the greatest quarterback peak in the history of this game. It's not that I think he will necessarily ever be as good as Josh. I think you could easily argue is at a top 5 quarterback peak ever. Or Lamar Jackson, who is one of the absolute greatest regular season quarterbacks ever. Like, it's not that I think he's going to be as good or certainly better than any of those guys. It's just so much more time, dude. 6 or 7, goddammit, more years of Drake Maye makes a huge, huge difference to me when he is already as great as he is right now. Because I also can't rule out the possibility of him being as good, maybe as a Josh. Like, he's one of the most impressive second-year quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Obviously, Mahomes is the best in that regard. Justin Herbert, though, is the guy who comes closest in recent memory, right? His 38 touchdown, ridiculous 2021 season led the Chargers to be a top 5 offense with a shitty running game, everything that he did. And I'm thinking about it like this. Like, I actually think that Maye is even a slightly crazier talent than Justin Herbert because I just think he's a little bit more creative. I think his legs are a little bit more lethal, his scrambling ability. Both of them are incredibly accurate. Drake Maye's accuracy this year has been out of this world. They're comparable, but I think there's even a little bit more of that creation with Maye. But if you gave me the quarterback landscape in 2021 and said, okay, this is an alternate reality. Justin Herbert is 23. What if Patrick Mahomes was 30, like he is right now? What if Josh Allen was 29, like he is right now? I would say Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, they are better quarterback talents. They are clearly at the higher peak right now. I expect them to be better than Justin Herbert ever will be. But I think Justin Herbert is going to be special. And if I am getting that much more time with him, that means he's going to add more total value throughout his remaining career than those guys will. So, like, that's the kind of thought exercise that I went through to say this is not purely a Drake Maye thing, although I think he is a truly exceptional talent, truly exceptional. If you think about another second-year quarterback who had an all-time great season, who I view as basically a flawless talent, even if he's not Mahomes and Allen, just if he were to be that much younger, I'd still take him. Like, does that make sense? What I'm saying, if you were to have Justin Herbert in that 2021 season and he were that much younger than Mahomes and Allen, would you take him as the building block? Because I think I would. Really?
No, I wouldn't. I just don't think Drake Maye is ever going to be as good as... I think Drake Maye could, but I wouldn't bank on that. These guys are at such a high peak right now that I value the window. To me, it would be like like let's say I'm trying to find an NBA example that we could use. It's like, would I want Giannis or I don't know, like Cooper Flag? Like I'm trying to think of an apt
Well, you
NBA
took Evan Mobley over Giannis as a long-term building block last year. You did that, my friend.
I did. I still really do like Evan Mobley, but like it's kind of like
it's
I don't
like
know.
Okay, well no. How about let's do it like this? Anthony Edwards versus Giannis. Isn't that a better comparison? Because Ant, you think, is going to be like what 93% of the player that Giannis is at his peak, and you're expecting another 12 plus years of peak Ant and another 5-6 years of peak Giannis. Like I just think the total value outweighs it.
I'm stuck. I don't know who I'd want. Giannis is so freaking good, dude. Like, that's a better comp. But I just have such – I hold them in such high regard historically that, like, I want to be clear about something. I can see Drake Maye being the best quarterback in football, doing all these things that you're talking about. I guess it's just not probable to me that he's ever going to be as good as either of these three guys. And I think your logic is sound, Carson. I think you make a great argument. I just lay on the fence of these are proven commodities that are going to be really great for the next. Like I think there's validity to your argument. I just don't know if it's the most probable outcome.
The thinking is Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, they are so overwhelmingly great that regardless of situation, they're going to make you an elite team, an elite offense, double-digit wins every year, right? That's the thinking. They are going to give you that individual sort of MVP level production that elevates the team to be that great. Drake Maye's doing that in year 2. Drake Maye has taken a team that has a bad offensive line, that has a bad run game, that has a group of receivers that clearly lacks a number one that we looked at coming into the year and said that is one of the more lackluster receiving cores in the NFL. And he has them 5th in yards per drive and 8th in points per drive, and they've statistically been the best passing attack in football, and they're 11-2. Like, he is doing that right now. He's my MVP. He's number 1 in adjusted yards per attempt. He's number 1 in pass rating. He's number 1 in completion percentage over expected. He's number 1 in passing EPA. He has got a special arm. Not quite a Mahomes or Allen arm, but like very much in that next tier, one of the handful or so best arms in the NFL, with this sort of supreme accuracy, this ability to layer balls, this accuracy as a deep passer all over the field that like exceeds even the wildest of expectations for a second-year quarterback. This maturity, this processing that is so crazy, with, again, this ability to create plays, to move, to evade pressure, all these things. And he protects the football really well. He is one of those talents who checks every single box. And again, I make the Herbert comparison, but I think that Maye is even a little bit more special. I think what he's doing this year shows even a slightly more alien talent than that Justin Herbert. The creativity is just even up another level. So what Mahomes and Josh do for you every year, and Lamar, it is absolutely special all-time stuff. But the trajectory that Maye is on is enough for me to say I think he will be close enough to that on a year-by-year basis, because he's already doing something close to that in year 2. And we should absolutely expect this guy to continue to get better. And there is nothing about his game that I don't think is fully, legitimately elite, right? I just think flat out he has all of the traits to indicate this is the next guy. This is the guy who, after the big 3 age out of their primes, is going to be the best quarterback in the NFL. And I would just take that guy when I have another 7-6 years of that quarterback. That's what it comes down to. It's a math equation. I got scientific about it, and I just figured getting 90-something% of that value for twice as long gives me more total value. And that's why I'm taking Drake Maye. He is great enough to where there are certain guys, right? Like the value that Mahomes and Lamar and Josh have is I feel like I am going to be in contention with them every year. And there are certain guys who are really good, but they don't give me that. They just don't, right? I certainly can't say that about a Caleb Williams or a Jordan Love or a Jayden Daniels. So it's not a conversation. Drake Maye, I believe, does give me that.
Balls.
It's just how I feel, man.
Balls.
Like,
kind of crazy. This is one of your most surprising lists. I'm
really
a little baffled, honestly. Yeah. But I respect the take. I disagree with the take, but I respect the hell out of it.
Feels good to me, man. Feels like
It's
I'm
valid.
seeing the
I'm not
big
even
picture.
saying, like, I think your logic is very sound. Patrick Mahomes is the grim freaking reaper, man.
I get it. But again, it's like,
Watch
well, you
Drake
can't
May
do
win the
this
Super Bowl
comparison.
this year, and then it's just over. And Drake May is Drake May. We're going to start building Drake May statues.
Well, then I would feel really good about this placement. That would make me feel really, really good about this.
I mean, dude,
But
I think the Patriots, no bullshit. I don't know where I'm going to go in my power rankings. The Patriots might very well be number one in my AFC power rankings when we do. Like, Denver has moved up. I think Houston is going to crack my top 10. I don't know what the hell to do with Buffalo, Kansas City, or Baltimore. I think right now, tentatively, I am leaning towards New England being number one in my AFC right now, though.
not unreasonable. Not unreasonable, especially if they get that 1 seed. The bye is going to be a significant component. The AFC is definitely going to be a crapshoot this year, but Drake May is one of those guys who gives you as good a
He's the
chance as
reason
anybody.
why. He's the
He's the
reason
reason why. He is the reason for this team's success.
And to be fair, I think I agree with you. I think he's my MVP as well this year.
Yeah. MVP as a second-year guy. We know the only other 2 players who have ever done it, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Crazy, crazy company to be part of. Wait, no, Dan Marino also did it. I think that's everybody who's done it. And there you have it.
Quarterbacks, yeah.
And Drake May, the quarterbacks. Is there any other position that's done it?
I just wanted to add that caveat. I'm not sure, but I wanted to
don't think
cover our
there is.
bases to make sure we weren't
Thank you, Logan.
slinging fake stats, man.
Thank you, Logan. That was just off the top of the dome. And this whole list was off the top of the dome. No, it wasn't. We prepared for this episode. We wrote stuff down, and we had a good time. Let us know if you think I am absolutely bonkers for having Drake May at the end of the
May.
day.
Mhm.
So, with that, we hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want more of our content, you know where to find it. All of our full episodes are on our YouTube channel and across all audio platforms. You can stay tuned for that Shea video dropping tomorrow, and you can find all of our in-depth video essay, video breakdown content on our YouTube channel. You can also check us out on social to see clips from the show, graphics from the show, and all of our short-form video content. And if you want to post pictures of Logan Camden in scandalous positions to demand that Logan oil up and twerk, that's what our Discord is for. We support all insidious requests. Anything lewd and lascivious involving Logan Camden is fully promoted. Get dirty, get nasty, get maniacal. That's what we can promise you. That's a guarantee from me, Carson Brabber. And Logan, you sign off as well.
I guess I'm finna be naked.
Drake May.
All
May.
right.
Drake
Sure.
May.
I mean, if you guys want that as your Christmas gift, I guess I can suffice.
Drake May. So, with that, as always, we appreciate you guys. And I've been Carson Brabber.
Drake May.
And this was Drake May.